What's up guys, coming at you with a new video here on this new channel. Because this is a new channel, I wanted to do a really quick introduction of myself. My name is Daniel Delgado. I'm a Christian entrepreneur business owner, and basically I'm just here to talk about the businesses that I own, the stuff that I'm interested in, and how to apply the Bible and the Christian living to those businesses as well. First of all, I'm a videographer and photographer by trade. That's just kind of my main bread and butter. And then I also own an event photo booth business with me and my wife. We just go around and we set up our photo booth that prints out prints at its various events. And then we also have this new business, the ATM business. So I'm just coming at you with this video. I want to talk about six things, seven sort of, like the last one is sort of an optional one. So starting off here with step number one is doing all the legal stuff. And what an LLC does is it makes the business its own legal entity. So it separates you from the business, separates your assets, so your home, your car, your bank account from the business bank account and what the business owns. So figure out which one works best for you. I'm going to stick with an LLC just for this demonstration because it's what I chose to go with and it's what a lot of other people choose to go with. So you form your LLC. You go to the Secretary of State's website. For whatever state that you're in. I'm in California, so you fill it out there or do it through whatever means you find necessary. I will say though, from personal experience, 100% stay away from using LegalZoom. They are terrible. Do not use them. I had a terrible experience with them. I'm still going through a bad experience with them. Just stay away from them. They're not worth it. You pay them extra money to push a button that you can push. It's not worth it. So once you get the LLC, you're going to need to get an EIN number. That's fast, free, and easy. You just go to the IRS website. I'll have the link down in the description. It's super easy. The process should be the same no matter what state that you're in because obviously the IRS is a national organization. So that one's super easy to get. So once you have your LLC, your EIN, that's kind of step number one. Okay, now moving on to step number two is opening up a business bank account. Now this is important, and just keep in mind, this is also where you'll find your first kind of roadblock in this business, already here on step two. Now I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of tough. It will take some work on your part. It will take some determination. However, I will be selling all this information. I will have a website set up to where you can buy all this information. I've already figured out all this stuff for you guys, and everything that I'm giving you is going to be should work for you in every state that you're in. I'm not so sure about Hawaii or Alaska, but all the other 48 states, it should work for you. And I'll have multiple options. So if one doesn't work for you, then I know one of those options will work for you. So if you want to skip all of the work, I spent about a month straight of just like taking time away from my other two businesses and doing research for this business. So it does take time, it does take money, and it does take effort in order to do this. But if you want to kind of speed that up, expedite that, go ahead, check out my website, and then just pay for it. It's all done for you, and then it'll just give you a huge leg up and ready to go. I don't charge a lot of money like all these other guys do, like charge insane amount. Mine will just be PDF versions. It'll be super quick and easy for you guys. But assuming that you're doing it yourself, you want to open up a business bank account. Now, you're gonna need, if you're not purchasing my package that will give you the banks that I use, that I bank with, then you're gonna need to call around to a bunch of banks. Call around to the smaller credit unions, call around to the big banks. Look, try everything here, because here's the thing that I found out in my kind of search and my quest for a bank account is that it matters who you talk to, what branch you talk to in the bank, and it even can differ from the person inside the same branch who you talk to. It totally matters. You want to build a relationship with somebody who's willing to build a relationship with you. And once you find that person, once you find that bank, stick with them. Open up multiple accounts in there. Open up a personal account. Like make it so that you're building a relationship with that bank. It's totally worth it because then whoever that assistant manager is or the manager in there, they're gonna fight for you if the banks are ever trying to close down your account. Now, I'll be straight up, the banks, it's really tough to find a bank that will open up a business bank account for an ATM business for a myriad of reasons, but mainly because it's a cash-only business. So there's a lot of cash being flowed through, right? An ATM, you fill up the ATM, and then whatever money gets taken out, it gets cycled out into that bank account. So you're just putting the same money back into the ATM, being cycled into your bank account, same money, same money, same money, same money. So you'll be going in multiple times a month to take out cash, which is why the banks don't want to work with you, or at least it's one reason why the banks don't want to work with you. Also because you're a competitor, also because they miscategorize you as MSBs, money services businesses. So you're just gonna have to fight for it. You're just gonna have to call places or buy my package, and all the work will be done for you. But assuming that you finally opened up a business bank account, which is the first hurdle in this business, we're gonna move on to step number 3. Step number 3 is getting a contract. Guys, you're dealing with cash and you're dealing with ATMs here, you're dealing with businesses. You do not want to just go off of word of mouth here. You don't want to go off of he said, she said, because it's going to end badly. You want to make sure you keep everything legal, you keep things in writing, and you get a contract. You get the business owners to sign a contract. Now, in my package, I will be giving you my contract, my personal contract that I use, that I've made, revised over and over again. I've had multiple lawyers look at it. It will hold up in court, that has teeth, and it protects you. You'll be able to, it'll come in a Word document, so you'll be able to revise it and change whatever you want. But I highly recommend, do not do this business. Do not put any ATMs in any locations without a contract. You want to make sure you have people sign a contract. This is something legal. This is something that is going to be able to protect you in court, and also protect the business owner as well. So they should want to at least sign a contract as well. So that's step number 3, is getting a contract. Moving on to step number 4. Step number 4 is now finding a location. So now this is gonna differ. I'm gonna make a video on this in its own separate video, but just to dive into it just real quick here, there's kind of 2 main methods that I use in finding a location. It's cold calling, and it's also being in person. But there's pros and cons to being on the phone. There's pros and cons to being in person. Definitely a pro to being in person is that you're in person. You get to meet them in person. They get to see you. They get to interact with you. You see their body language. They see your body language. It's much more of like an interactive thing versus being on the phone. They could easily just hang up on you and move on with their day. But there is a pro to being on the phone, which is you get to call a bunch of places that you don't have to drive to, right? You don't have to spend the gas money to go to all these places. You're just calling them, staying on and sitting on your couch, eating some Doritos, just calling each person, spending hours on the phone. There's a pro to that and there's cons to that. So I'll make that its own video. But that's step number 4, is finding a location. Now you're at the point where at step number 5, you're actually going to order the physical ATM. I'll also make this its own video as well. And remember, this will actually be in my package. So if you purchase my package, it'll tell you where I buy my ATMs from and who I use as a processor, all that good stuff, who I use as my internet provider. So there's internet. You need to find a processor. Remember, guys, you're dealing with bank accounts here. You're dealing with processing. You're dealing with all these things. So what the processor does is everything on the back end, right? It takes the money from the customer's account that just came up and put their debit card in your ATM and then puts it into your account. So you got to have a processor, and then of course you got to have the physical ATM. Just keep in mind that there's a ton, an insane amount of businesses out there that do all 3 of these things. And if you want to save yourself some time, go and purchase my package on my website, and it'll have all this information for you. It'll have multiple options for you. So if one doesn't work for you, if you like one better, then go with that. So moving on to step number 6 is installing the ATM. So me personally, I don't install an ATM unless I can bolt it down because it gives me some security. I do have a part of my contract that kind of saves me whether it's bolted down or not. So you'll have to purchase the contract to see what kind of teeth I have on that. But basically, I see it as two different. You can do this two different ways. You can either pay someone to install it, or you can install it yourself. Me personally, I installed it myself. It's really not that hard to install it. I'll do a separate video on this as well to installing the ATM. But buying the tools for an ATM is about the same price as paying for one installation. It's around $300 to like $400 to buy all the tools to actually install it yourself, whereas it's about like $300 to pay for someone to install one ATM. So you're spending about the same amount of money to install one ATM as it is to buy the tools to install all your ATMs. I highly recommend installing it yourself. It's an easy process. That'll be one of the next videos that I upload about this. But I recommend doing that. But that's step number 6. And then moving on to step number 7, which is sort of optional, but I highly recommend it, is keeping an eye and monitoring. Right, okay, so in this business, you don't necessarily just stick an ATM in a location and bing, bang, boom, you're ready to go. So once you've done your due diligence, great, you've done a great job on that step. However, the job isn't over, or at least it shouldn't be, because you'll never really know if an ATM is gonna do really well until you put the ATM in that location. You can run all the numbers, you can do all your due diligence, you can do all your research, you can do all that stuff, but still at the end of the day, you're not gonna actually know if it'll be a great location, if it'll be a bad location until you actually physically put the ATM in there and let it run for a few months. So that's why step number 7 is sort of optional, but I highly recommend it, is keeping an eye on things and monitoring. There's a lot of like trial and error in this business. So like you might put an ATM in a place you think it's gonna be a banger location, but it just turns out to be a dud. And you're gonna have to move it to a new location, and you're gonna have to do that again, and you're gonna have to do that again, and you're gonna have to do that again until you find a good solid location for that one ATM. And then guess what? You're gonna have to do it again for another ATM. So there is gonna be a lot of moving in this business. There's gonna be a lot of like, you gotta track the numbers, you gotta find out if it's worth it for you. So that's pretty much it, guys. I know this is kind of a long first video, but I wanted to just kind of dive into the whole, like, get an overall look into what this business entails, all the pre-process, and then the process even after putting an ATM in a location. So take it easy, guys. God bless, and we'll see you in the next video.